Hello everybody, and welcome back to Certified Collectibles. This is another episode of First Appearances of the Week. This is Wednesday, February 9th, 2022. We'll be giving you all the first appearances hidden in your comic shops today. Now this week, we have a pretty good week for you guys. I think we have 11 titles altogether. 2 first appearances, but we do have 9 honorable mentions. Definitely some good books in there to add to your collection. So let's go ahead and get started for the first appearances of the week ending February 11th, 2022. Now first up from DC Comics, BATGIRLS number 3. This features first appearance of Tudor, a street artist with suspected criminal intentions. Now, BATGIRLS is not necessarily one of DC's strongest selling series, nor is it one they're most highly collected, so the fact that they're introducing a new character into this particular title series may not be that big of a deal. This is one you might want to put on your B-list for now. Definitely give it some consideration though, because if they bring this character across other title series, or they introduce her into the Batman universe, or the Superman universe, it may be a more important character, but right now, we think this is a B-list item. Keep an eye on it, take a look at it later. And from Marvel Comics, Secret X-Men number 1. This features the first team appearance of the Secret X-Men. This is Sunspot, Cannonball, Morrow, Boom Boom, Tempo, Forge, Banshee, Strong Guy, and Armor. Now, the fact that this is the first team appearance of a new group of X-Men, this is one we do think you should probably pick up and add to your collection. It really depends on what Marvel, Disney does with the X-Men franchise. If they bring any of these new characters into the MCU or any feature films, streaming series, TV shows, these will be a big deal. But this is more of a speculative bet, but this is one we also think you should probably pick up for your collection. This is the first team appearance of a new group of X-Men. You probably can't go wrong with picking this up for the cover price. Go ahead and grab this one here for your collection. And now for the honorable mentions. From Aftershock Comics, Land of the Living Gods number 1. This is a fairy tale about a young girl who leaves a deserted city in search of a miracle in a land far away inhabited by gods. Now this sounds like it lends itself very well to a small screen or big screen project, and Aftershock has had some of their titles optioned for TV shows, streaming series, or feature films, so this is going to be more of a speculative bet if you choose to pick this one up. This is one you may want to spec on, keep an eye on it, do a little research, but this is one you can put on your B-list. If you can grab it, do so, otherwise address it later. Next up from Blaze Comics, Life Zero number 1. A catastrophic event changes the world forever. Now, once again, this sounds like it could lend itself very well to a small screen or big screen project. Blaze is getting some more attention drawn to their titles, so this is one you may want to spec on, and given the subject matter, this is one we do think has some promise to be picked up. This is one we think you should pick up for a speculative bet. Go ahead and grab this one if you can. If not, definitely take a look at it later on. Next up from Scout Comics, Playthings number 1. A young mother is horrifically baffled when she wakes up inside a candy-colored room, bound with rope and surrounded by small toys that are alive. Now this sounds like it could lend itself very well to a small screen or big screen project, and Scout has had some of their titles optioned, just think a Hinge Girl. So this is one that may be worth picking up and specking on. It's a very interesting sounding story. We haven't read this yet. Of course, the book hits the shelf today. But this is one maybe worth specking on, and Scout is a publisher that is getting a lot of attention from the studios, so this is one we think is probably worth specking on. Pick this one up if you can. If you can't, take a look at it later on. Next up from IDW, Star Wars Adventures number 14. This is the final issue of this series, and this features the origin of Deva Lumpop, specifically her time with the Nihil. Now, this is one we do think you should pick up for your collection. This is the final issue of this series, but it is the origin story of Deva Lumpop, and you know, if you've been following any of the Star Wars franchises recently, you know that they're super popular and very collectible. So, given the fact that this is an origin story of a Star Wars character, we do think this is worth picking up. Even though this is the IDW title series and not the Marvel series, we do think this is still worth adding to your collection. Go ahead and grab this one. And next up from Marvel Comics, Avengers number 53. This is the debut of the Red Panther moniker and suit. Now this is one we do think you should definitely pick up for your collection. This is the debut of the Red Panther suit. Given the popularity of Black Panther and that whole franchise, this is one that definitely sounds like it might be important going forward, especially if Marvel pulls this Red Panther into the MCU. So this is one we think you should definitely pick up. Next up from Marvel Comics, Amazing Spider-Man number 88 Beyond. This is the reintroduction of the Slingers, and Hobie Brown becomes the Hornet, formerly Prowler. Now this is one that's probably more of a B-list item or a spec item if you do choose to pick it up. It really all depends on if there's a massive change to the Slingers when they reintroduce them in this particular title, and if anybody really cares that Hobie Brown becomes the Hornet in this issue. This is one we think you probably have some time on. Put this one on your B-list. If you want to spec on it, definitely pick it up and add to your collection, but we do think you might have some time on this one. Next up from Marvel Comics, Moon Knight number 8. Now, the solicitation references Stained Glass Scarlet, who hasn't appeared in comics since 1998, but has been rumored for the Moon Knight Disney Plus series. So this is one we do think you should pick up. This is a little bit more of a speculative bet because if this character does appear in the Disney Plus series, it will draw a lot more attention to this character. Now, the first appearance of Stained Glass Scarlet, of course, was back in the 90s, but this is kind of the reintroduction of this character in maybe a new form or newly designed form. So this is one we do think you should pick up and add to your collection. Next up from DC Comics, Suicide Squad Blaze #1. The solicitation references 5 deadly new recruits. Now, if these new recruits are actually new characters being introduced into the Suicide Squad, this one here may be worth picking up. If these new recruits are established characters in the DC Universe, this one may not necessarily be all that important, but it will be a new team-up, let's say, of the Suicide Squad, so it still may be something to consider. You should probably do a little bit more research on this if you choose to pick this one up for your collection. If these new recruits are new characters added to the DC Universe, this is one you probably want to pick up. If these new recruits are just established characters, you probably put this one on your B-list, take a look at it later on, but definitely take a look at this book before you pick it up. And finally from DC Comics, I Am Batman #6. The solicitation references a new arc with new adversaries. Now, if these new enemies are actually new characters being introduced into the DCU, this might be worth picking up and adding to your collection. But if these new adversaries are established characters and they're just bringing them over to this particular title series, it might not be that big of a deal. The I Am Batman is a different title series than Batman or Detective Comics, which are DC's tentpole series. So this one here may be worth specking on, but definitely do a little research on this before you pick it up. If these new adversaries are new characters being introduced into the DCU for the first time, go ahead and grab this one. If they're established characters, put it on your B-list, take a look at it later on. So there you have the 11 titles that we have for you guys this week. Definitely some good titles in there to pick up for your collection. Please feel free to drop some comments in the comment section below. Give us a thumbs up if you like this video. And as always, please remember to subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thank you for joining us here at Certified Collectibles, and we'll see you again next time.